everyone and welcome to the mid-year book freakout tag. I can't believe we're in the middle of the year already. It doesn't feel like it. I keep on saying this in all my other videos, but it feels like I was in February, I blinked and it's now June and I don't know how that happened. But because it has gone that far, it's time to do the mid-year book freakout tag, so let's just get into it. Question number 1 is best books you've read so far this year. Heartstopper is the only books that I've given 5 stars to so far. I absolutely loved reading this series so much. I did not expect to love it as much as I did, but it was an absolute 5-star read. I flew through the entire series in a day and I absolutely loved it. Outside of that, I've also got to mention Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo and Danny Pendergast. I read this as well in like 20 minutes because it's obviously a graphic novel and it's actually quite image heavy compared to usual, but I absolutely love this. I love finding out more about the Darkling and how he became the Darkling and how he got his ideology, all the rest of it. I absolutely love this. I've also got to mention Hell Breaks Loose by Derek Landy. This is set 300 years before the original Skullduggery Pleasant books, so it's set in Italy 1703 and we are dealing with a lot, to say the least, in everything that's going on. We're in the middle of the war with Mevlin, all the rest of it. I absolutely loved this one. It was a little bit confusing towards the end, but I still absolutely loved reading this. And then also I've got to mention another Derek Landy, which is All Out Avengers Teachable Moments. This was an amazing graphic novel. I loved like the artwork in here. It was absolutely badass. I loved all of like the mystery of it. The humour again was pure Derek Landy. Everything else was absolutely brilliant and I just had a fantastic time at reading this. Question number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far this year. When Villains Rise. This was a final book in a trilogy all about very morally grey characters trying to survive in a world where monsters exist and they are being hunted down by multiple monsters, to say the least, and I love this. I always describe the series as Wednesday Addams in a book. It's the only way I can describe it and I absolutely loved every single minute of reading this. I had such a good time. Question number 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet but really want to. Another Rebecca Schaeffer book. This one is City of Nightmares. This one is all about a city where your nightmares come to life if you fall asleep, I think. It says face your fear or become your nightmare, and we're dealing with a main character whose sister has become a man-eating spider and slaughtered her way through town. I mean, it sounds perfect to me. It sounds like proper Rebecca Schaeffer work, which I'm very excited about. I pre-ordered this and I still haven't read it for no apparent reason, so definitely need to work on this because I really badly want to read this one, to say the least. Question number 4 is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Blood Magic by Derek Landy. This is the graphic novel sequel to the main Skullduggery Pleasant series, which I am so excited to read. I'm always here for more Skullduggery, and especially in graphic novel form, just sounds really exciting and I cannot wait to see what that's going to entail. And then also The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. This is the start to a new series within the Dark Shade of Magic universe and I am so excited for this. I've recently, as of this morning, started reading A Dark Shade of Magic again and I am just absolutely obsessed, absolutely in love as always, and I'm just ridiculously excited to just read more about Kel and Rai and Alucard and Lila and everybody, and I'm so excited. I literally started reading the first book again this morning and it feels like I'm home. This is my favourite series, or at least one of my favourite series of all time, so I cannot wait for this sequel to come out. And then also I've got to mention the I Hate Fairyland Volume 5, which literally comes out on the 27th of this month. I am so excited for that. I love I Hate Fairyland. The original's by Scotty Young. It's literally about a 6-year-old who gets stuck in Fairyland for 30 years and essentially tries to Deadpool her way out, is the only way I can describe it. I absolutely love the books, so I'm really excited for the sequel to come out as well later on this month. I'm so excited, so excited. And then also actually there's The Double Trouble Society, the second book in that series by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I've got no idea what the book's called, I've got no idea what it's about, but I really enjoyed the first one and I'm absolute Fletcher trash, so I'm just here for that sequel as well. And actually, speaking of Fletchers, I completely forgot as well, A Christmasaurus Carol. It's the next one in the Christmasaurus series, and I just really love that book. I really love the books Tom writes anyway. I really love Tom as a human being, so I'm really excited to see what he's going to do with the sequel. Question number 5 is the biggest disappointment of the year, and that has to be Douglas Adams's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I hated every single minute of reading these books. They were plotless, they were boring, and incredibly sexist. As in, women had no personality whatsoever. The only female character in the first first couple of books anyway, did not pass the sexy lamp test whatsoever, which is essentially if you can replace a female character with a sexy lamp and nothing changes, then you don't pass the test. She essentially did nothing apart from repeat what the other male characters had said for the first couple of books, and then, I mean, I counted on like the second one or the third one she didn't speak till halfway through the book, which was ridiculous, despite the fact that she was described in several scenes. She just never spoke, then was reduced to basically stereotypes the whole way through. It was also plotless. I don't do plotless, I need plot, I need logic, and this was completely and utterly like nonsensical. Nothing really made sense. It was sort of like Douglas Adams was coming up with random ideas and just sticking them on the page, and then that was it, and I just hated it. I just hated all of the books. I've got full reading vlogs for all of them if you want to check them out. I'll link the first one up here, but I hated all of them. Specifically, I really hated the last one because the last one rendered the entire series pointless, and it just angered me. Like, so badly it angered me, and I'm still not over it, and I'm still angry about it, so I'm going to move on because otherwise I will rant for ages. Question number 6 is the biggest surprise of the year, and that has to be Legends and Lattes. I would have said Heartstopper, but Legends and Lattes really also came out left field for me as well, because this is, while it is a fantasy book, it is about an orc opening a coffee shop, and while there is some bits of action in there and like high stakes and things like this, it's not the usual high stakes I'm used to. I'm more used to like dealing with trying to stop gods from coming through, or like sisters turning into man-eating spiders, that kind of thing. I'm used to these kind of stakes, and instead this was whether or not the coffee shop was going to succeed and things like this, and I really enjoyed myself. I absolutely flew through the audiobook. I absolutely loved it, and I was not expecting to love it as much as I did, because I always thought I need a lot more like action and like fast-paced things to happen for me to really enjoy a book, but this just proved that I don't. So now I'm really excited to see what this author's going to come out with next, and see what's going to happen like with like future books within this universe, or like within this series. I think they're more like companion novels, I don't know, but I'm just really excited. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next, and see what else this author comes out with, which I was not expecting. I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did whatsoever. It took me completely by surprise. Question number 7 is favourite new author. Alice Oseman, because I adored Heartstopper so much, and then I've also got to mention Chelsea Abdullah, who wrote The Stardust Thief. I loved this book a lot as well. I really enjoyed all of the way it wove the like 1001 Nights Tale into this, and like stories in general. I love the world building of it, the characters of it. I really enjoyed it. I'm so excited to see where the sequel goes whenever it comes out. I've got it on pre-order if I remember rightly, and I'm just generally really excited to see more of what Chelsea Abdullah can do, because I really like this one. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. I don't really have one. I don't really get fictional crushes anymore, but if we're going to talk about a new favourite character that I would absolutely love to become friends with, I'm going to say the live action version of Wyland, because I adored him so much. Like, he turned up on screen and I just fell in love with him instantly. He's just the cutest little cinnamon roll, and I just wanted to hug him the whole time and become his friend. Like, I adored Wyland. Like, I already loved Wyland in the original Six of Crows, but Jack Wolf played him perfectly. I absolutely loved everything he did as Wyland. I loved Wyland so much, so I've got to say him for not exactly a fictional crush, but instead a new fictional character I would love to be friends with. Question number 9 is newest favourite fictional character. Oh god, Hobie Brown. Hobie Brown owns my heart, to say the least. I absolutely adored Hobie. This is mainly in Across the Spider-Verse. I'm waiting for Beyond the Spider-Verse to read a lot more of his comics, to say the least, because I was kind of holding them back a little bit just in case he became my favourite, and I wanted to read more like around the time Beyond the Spider-Verse came out, and that was a really, really good call, to say the least. But he's just so cool. He's just so cool, and I love his aesthetic. I love the punk vibe. I love all of that kind of stuff anyway, so it was just absolute perfection. It's got to be Hobie. It's not a book, but it's got to be Hobie. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. I don't cry at books. As a rule, I don't cry at books, but books do make me sad on occasion. So what I'm going to say is Queen of Air and Darkness made me very, very sad at the beginning, when it's dealing with the grief over Livy and also the funeral and everything else. Stuff like that really affects me anyway, so that's what I'm going to say. I didn't cry, but it definitely made me quite emotional to read. Question number 11 is a book that made you happy, and it's got to be The Chronicles of St. Mary's. I really, really enjoyed the series. I'm only 2 books in at the moment, but they are short, they are chaotic, and they are fun. That is the only way I can describe them. This is so much fun to read. We're dealing with chaotic, disaster magnet historians who travel through time, essentially just observing and like reporting back for historical purposes and like education purposes. But then they are also chaotic disaster magnets, and they also have to try and save like the timeline and things like this throughout the, like the books. It's not that complicated in terms of like the like talking about time or anything. It's more like Doctor Who in how time is sort of described. It's not like Endgame, it's more like Doctor Who in the sense it's more like wibbly wobbly timey-wimey stuff. This is the more important stuff going on here, and sort of goes into the actual plot, less about the actual like time travel. So if you're worried about that, don't be. But despite this, you are still dealing with like important things like the fact that time is sort of going a little bit wobbly because of like the villain of the series. But at the same time, to boost morale at points, the like characters of this all split into their departments within St. Mary's, specifically in this book, and they go back to 1666 and then go hunt dodos. And it ends in chaos with like the R&D department turning up with a rock with some feathers glued onto it and a smiley face drawn on it in pencil. And they're like, found a dodo, kind of thing. And while Max and the Muse of Time actually sit there and drink tea, eat cake, and watch the chaos unfold as other people are like falling out of trees and all of this kind of thing, and like dealing with how really stupid dodos are, to be fair, and stuff like this happens. You've got the fact as well that at one point Max has to stop the research and development department again, one of the departments, from catapulting various historians across a lake to prove how a plague catapult would have worked, and they were all going to dress up and put fake pustules and stuff like this all over themselves. This is the level of chaos I'm talking about here. It's just funny. It is just funny. Like, there's so many things happening, and you've got really important things happening as well. But also you get, like, dodo hunting and returning with a rock with feathers and a pencil face on it. And then also having to stop other historians from flinging people across a lake while dressed up as a plague victim. This is the kind of thing I'm on about here. It made me laugh out loud at several points. I love this series so much. I'm only 2 books in, but I am already regretting not reading them sooner because I'm having such a good time. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book you've acquired this year. Ooh, tough one. I mean, this one's pretty beautiful, but at the same time, I mean, look at the sprayed edges on this. This is Hell Breaks Loose, but also the end papers. I mean, the end papers and the sprayed edges are pretty damn beautiful, so I'm probably going to say Hell Breaks Loose. Question number 13 is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? Have you seen this pile here? This is the list, so I'm just going to quickly run through them. So we have Bitter by Kweke Emezi, we've got City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, Eragon by Christopher Paolini, The Hunger Games, the entire series by Susan Collins. We've also got Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, The Knife of Letting Go by Patrick Ness, Ink by Alice Broadway, Wendy Darling by A.C. Wise, Only a Monster by Vanessa Len, King of Souls by Rena Barron. There is also Trials of X that I really want to read as well, because obviously I really want to read that because It's Trials of X. I'm loving that series so much at the moment. I've also just remembered Mina and the Undead that I really want to read as well, because I'm really in my vampire era at the moment. And then I also have my Waypoint books, which, for full disclosure, I am a rep for the Waypoint Books Full Moon subscription box, which is a book box that you get every single month with 2 books in it. The first one is a book that you choose out of a list of 3 based on your tastes, or the rest of it that Hannah has picked out, and you pick one of them and she sends it to you. And then the other one is a surprise that is based on, again, your tastes and everything. She sends out a questionnaire when you sign up, and you fill it out based on like your likes, your dislikes, all the rest of it, and then she chooses you a surprise book. Now, We Are Blood and Thunder was my book that I picked. This is a fantasy. I'm really excited to read it. And then there is also Bloodstained Teeth. This one is all about vampires, because Hannah knows me, and Hannah knows I love graphic novels and I love vampires, and I also love dark, grippy, gory, this kind of thing, vampire stories and stories in general. So Hannah knows me very well, and I am so excited to read both of these. These are definitely a priority, and if you want to get your own subscription box, either if you want the Full Moon, which gives you both books, or if you just want the Half Moon, which gives you a book of your choice every single month based on a list of 3 that is sent to you every single month, then you can use the code BeccaFM23 at checkout to get 30% off your first order. And the final question is, favourite book to movie adaptation? A Kind of Spark. Has to be A Kind of Spark. I love this. It was so well done. I love the book already anyway, but the adaptation was done absolutely brilliantly. I love the fact that it had neurodiverse people in front of the camera and behind the camera, and you could really tell throughout it. I loved all of that. I loved the storyline of it. It was so beautifully adapted. I loved it. And that is the end of the mid-year book freakout tag. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me a book you really need to read before the end of the year. I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a vampire emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is filled with all things Spider-Verse and every other Marvel comic I've mentioned throughout here. It will be all on there, along with a whole load of other things as well if you're interested in that, as well as a link down below as well to my Etsy store that sells bookish merch like this I'd Rather Be Reading t-shirt if you're interested, or if you just want to see any more of my videos and see how much of this pile I get through, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!